I know it's hard, I know it's complicated, but I promised you I've been waiting here forever. I had a much to say, but you're not here with me, no. We're invincible, like fire in the snow. Trust me when I say you are my beautiful world, and I'm feeling it all, we should make an effort. It's true you're so far away, and it's true you don't feel the same. But if you take my hand, we can try and go back, starting from scratch. I won't let you go, no I can't let you go, 'cause you're my gravity, and I will never leave. I won't let you go, no baby I will not, because I still believe. You're my gravity. You will never be what I expected. Different frequencies, that's why we ain't connected. You know I will make it through, I got nothing to lose but you. It's true you're so far away, and it's true I can feel the same. It's another day, you know you want me to stay, but I go my way. I won't let you go, no I can't let you go, 'cause you're my gravity, and I will never leave. I won't let you go, no baby I will not, because I still believe. You're my gravity. You're my gravity. You're calling out my name, but the echo numbs your pain. Sorry, but more than just a shadow, I'm more than just a man. You don't care how I feel, you don't know how I feel. No, you don't know how. I wash away the sorrow till my heart can beat again. You're my gravity. No, you're my gravity. I will let you go, the only thing that I know. You were my gravity, but now I have to leave. I will let you go. Why do you feel that I want? What do you think that I want? I know how to breathe into my gravity, into my gravity, into my gravity, into my gravity, into my gravity. I know it's hard, I know it's complicated, but I promised you I've been waiting here forever. I had a much to say, but you're not here with me, no. We're invincible, like fire in the snow. Trust me when I say you are my beautiful world, and I'm feeling it all, we should make an effort. It's true you're so far away, and it's true you don't feel the same. But if you take my hand, we can try and go back, starting from scratch. I won't let you go, no I can't let you go, 'cause you're my gravity, and I will never leave. I won't let you go, no baby I will not.
Warning: the Duracell Cup Series data file you have attempted to access is out of date. Uploading current file now.
It's a brand new car from stem to stern, and it's never been raced at these speeds.
The next gen car is opportunity.
Everything is different with the exception of like the seat, the steering wheel, and your helmet.
Unknown creates excitement.
Talking about my generation.
Good afternoon, race fans, and welcome to NNSCRA TV's coverage of race number 20, Season 7 of the NNSCRA Duracell Next Gen Cup Series. As we are nearing the end of the regular season, after today only 6 races remain until we're going to be determining the 16 drivers that will battle in this season's playoffs in the hopes of being the Season 7 Duracell champion. And we are here today for the first time at the Suzuka road course, which is ready to play a major part into who will potentially be a driver in said upcoming playoffs, and it's already played a major part here even before we've taken the green flag. Yesterday we had the 2 qualifying sessions as well as the 2 subsequent heat races. We were able to, through those, determine the drivers that were going to race their way into this limited 30-car field. Owner points came into play near the close of that session. A lot of big names, a lot of drivers that were coming into this race hoping that if they qualified, they could potentially solidify themselves spots in the playoffs, whether through top 10 in points or through the wild card venue, and a number of them failed to actually qualify for this race. And there are no provisional points that are given out to the drivers that DNQ. They have a 0, a goose egg for the weekend. So, we've seen during the course of the last couple of weeks, drivers moving up in the point standings, drivers falling down in the point standings. I think you're going to see a lot of that here at the conclusion of this one. A lot of drivers going to be looking in the subsequent 6 remaining races of the regular season to gain back points that they lost here today based off of not qualifying. We had 14 drivers that qualified in on speed. We had 10 drivers that qualified their way in through the 2 heat races, and then the remainder of the field was made up of the drivers in the owner points based off of how high they were. The last driver to transfer in was Michael Norman. He got in via owner points 19th in overall standings. So a lot of drivers, a lot of names, as we'll cover during the course of this 80-lap feature, that failed to make the show. Let's take a look at the playoff standings coming into this one. They look a lot different than they did from last week's race, and I guarantee you they will look a lot different at the conclusion of this one heading into Kentucky next week. Most notably, a name that has dropped out of the top 10 seed spot, but now finds himself in a wild card spot would be Will Goss. Didn't get the run that he was looking for last week, so he will look to bounce back this week. Fortunately, he has that victory at North Wilkesboro, so he comes into this race, I believe it is 13th in overall points and in a wild card position. Another driver you will not see on this list is the 2-time winning Matthew Rodriguez. He comes into this one 36th in points, and he failed to qualify for today's race. However, on the flip side, another name you don't see is Connor Breton. He did manage to qualify for this race here today, so he is going to gain a ton of points, subsequently more than likely a ton of positions, and with that being said, he could move his way back up into the top 30 in points into a wild card position. The 2-time winner is 31st in points, only 1 point behind the cut line. And as I look at the listing here, there are a number of names I see of drivers that failed to qualify for this race that he could bypass. One of them Kyler Sustre. You see him in the the fifth and final seed of the wildcard drivers via win. He right now is the cut line driver, and he is not in the field. Failed to qualify here yesterday, so it is going to be a tough points day for him. He's going to look to bounce back next week. Another driver that right now is hoping that Sustre does fall outside of the top 30 in the points, so that he can get into a playoff position, is Reese Banks. Right now, Reese Banks, who dropped out of the top 10 a couple of weeks ago in overall standings, he is 12th in overall points, the highest driver without a victory. That's why you see him in the 16th and final seed as things currently stand right now. Another driver you see right now sits in the number one seed of the wildcard drivers, so 11th in the current playoff standings is Jessica Shelton. The Dodge Intrepid project car out of S3 Motorsports is not in the field here today either. She failed to qualify yesterday, so that is going to be a driver that will lose a ton of points here today. She was 26th in overall standings, a total of 17 points ahead of the cut line. So like I said, there's going to be a lot of movement and shaking as far as the point standings are concerned, and especially in terms of the playoff grid heading into next week. Rob Evans, he was the fastest in his group qualifying session yesterday. Subsequently, he starts from the pole. Rob Evans still looking for that first career victory here in the Duracell Cup Series. We talked about this yesterday during the both the qualifying session and the lights race that occurred yesterday, that Rob Evans does have a non-charter victory at a road course, the Indianapolis road course. That was back in Season 4. He is still looking, though, for that first chartered victory in a road at any racetrack, and maybe he can get it done here at a road course. Kyle Matthews, he comes into this race currently situated in the 41st position in points. That is next to last of all drivers that have a charter, and that is last of all drivers that have taken every green flag so far in the previous 19 races. Kyle's just looking for a good run here today, but if he could get a victory, the former champion could potentially be able to make a late regular season run for a wild card position. We're coming off the heels of last week at New Hampshire, where we saw James Qualls pick up his third victory on the season. He currently now is at the top of the board in that statistic, ahead of other two-time winners, such as Casey Hoyt. Casey Hoyt is currently 3 points behind Rob Evans for the overall points lead. Keep an eye on some of those drivers, because there's some pretty big names that are running very well in the point standings that had to rely on owner points to make the field, so they are starting deep in the grid. Hoyt, Qualls, as I just mentioned, also Austin LaPlante can be added into that category. We know these drivers have been very consistent, but they're going to have to make up a lot of track position here today. Gonna be a long one, gonna be interesting to see how pit strategy plays out, but it's time to get these cars rolling off the grid. Let's go down track side for those most famous words in motorsports.
Drivers, start your engines!
Just like when we talked about the transporter. At the end of pit road, the last pit box is a timing line. So the last white line on pit exit is the line. Big thumbs up, my friend. Have a good time.
Right side of your screen, you see the starting lineup. Going to be a shorter lineup than normal, since only 30 drivers are going to be taking the green flag here today. This track could definitely hold 42 drivers. The reason that it is limited 30 drivers, though, is because of pit lane. There are not enough pit stalls to be able to go around for a full 42 car field. And that's why we talked about it at the beginning of the season. Mid-Ohio and Suzuka were going to be desperation races, desperation weekends of drivers trying to make their way into the field. As we said, even charter drivers are going to fail to make the show, and as we saw yesterday, that was certainly the case. A couple of non-charter drivers in the field here today. Benjamin Snyder, part-timer, making his second start on the season, and Nico Servideo, best of luck to him as he is making his Duracell Cup Series debut. What a place to do it at, as we are ready for an 80-lap endurance road course race here at the 8-corner, 1.39-mile road course of Suzuka. Green flag is in the air, and Rob Evans will lead us down to turn 1. Almost got a little off course. Right there did Evans, and we are 3 wide for the lead. Carson Gum got to the left rear quarter panel, or the right rear quarter panel, I should say, of Kyle Matthews, who slides up into Evans, forces him off track a little bit. They're still 3 wide, bouncing off each other. Zach Rogers is going to get spun right at the front of the field. That probably will bring out the caution as Carson Gum is going to get the race lead. Is the yellow flag out? It is not. We are still green. So Zach Rogers, who had great starting track position here today, spinning it around there over in the center of 6 and 7. He continues on. Doesn't look like there's any damage, but look at all the spots that he lost. He was 6th to start today's race. And just like that, he is at the back of the pack, and he needs a yellow to get back into it. And after all that mayhem, Carson Gum is the race leader. Kyle Matthews into 2nd. Levi McIntyre in 3rd. The pole sitter, Rob Evans, is all the way back. Last time I scored in the 14th position. Well, that was a crazy first lap, and you're seeing what just transpired there via the NNSCRA split cam as we followed the battle for 2nd place. Kyle Matthews looking back to Levi McIntyre. McIntyre 7th in overall points, former winner this season at Pocono. And now the yellow flag is out, caution waves. So we had something else happen, and there's someone on pit road. I believe that might be Charles Sanford. Sanford qualified his way in to the field today in one of the 2 heat races yesterday. And that's going to be a big break for Zach Rogers to be able to catch back up here to this field. As yellow flag is out for the first time here at Suzuka. We're going to go back and take a look at what happened. Sanford with a lot of damage on the front end of his race car. I don't know where this would have occurred at, but he definitely caught some tire barrier, and looks like he and Keith Batson might have gotten together. Looks like this might have been over. Yes, it's over in turn 4. Oh, Batson gets Sanford in the right rear quarter panel. They can't get off of each other, and just the direction for Sanford straight into the tire barrier. Some pretty good damage there as well for Batson in the 39 as he backed it into that tire wall. Here's another look at it as we bring it a little bit further back. Watch on the left side of your screen. Keith Batson get a little off course. That's what messed up his entry into the upcoming right-hander. Runs it wide and into Charles Sanford. Big hit there for the Coca-Cola Vanilla Chevrolet out of S3 Motorsports, and that is going to be more than likely an early end to the day for the defending champ. Zach Rogers on pit lane, maybe a little damage repaired, maybe get some fresh tires after his spin over in turn 7. And they are pushing Charles Sanford Chevrolet back behind the wall. Tough break there for Charles. Now, the thing is, for some of these drivers here today, there's going to be some hardship if they DNF. The other thing, though, that is going to be good news for them is they are at least gaining points, which cannot be said for a lot of other drivers that failed to qualify. So Sanford, who ended up dropping 4 spots in the standings last week at New Hampshire, came into this race 25th in overall points. It'll be interesting to see where he finishes out today in the point standings, as he is going to pick up some spots on other drivers that didn't make the show, like Anthony McCrory, Quentin Moore, and Ryan Brommer. Green flag back in the air here for Kyle Matthews, as we had some interesting stuff going on there. Carson Gum ended up coming down pit road in the 19, and he restarted back in the 13th position after he was the only one to dive onto pit lane. Not sure of the reasoning, but he gave up some very good track position. As Kyle Matthews pulling away from side by side for 2nd place. Connor Breton and Levi McIntyre. Reese Banks right in this conversation, along with Cole Deaver and Nico Servideo. Still dead even there off of 8A down the front straightaway. Looks like Levi might get the advantage here down the front stretch. looks to clear the Vitamin Water Chevrolet and will do so. Now he's got to driver's left Reese Banks in the 44. Ryan Butcher a little off course back there. Got his left sides into the grass. Got to keep all 4 tires on the racing surface because there is no grip in the grass as Zachary Fitzwater finds out as he slides wide into Dylan Poteet. That's going to make him 3 wide behind him. Carson Gum, Matt McIntyre in that mix. Little rubbing fenders there between the 19 and the 21. They're a lot more racier here this afternoon than they were yesterday. I think we only saw maybe 1 pass under green flag conditions yesterday, and it was the driver that went on to actually win that race, Madeline Crenshaw, that pulled it off. Seen a lot more passing for position in this one, as looks like these drivers are very much so at a lack of grip going through those S's. Poteet and McIntyre are battling right now for the 11th spot. Zachary Fitzwater up ahead there, the last driver to win at a road course. Nick Gunther, who won the 2nd of the heat races yesterday, currently, well, he just took a spot, I believe, from Nico Servideo, so move him up to 6th position now. Gunther was a 4-time winner last year. 2 of those victories coming at road courses, Sonoma and the Charlotte Roval. Fitzwater going to work on Ryan Butcher. That would be for the 9th position, I do believe. Trying to go 2 for 2 at the road courses here this season. And now things starting to get a little single-filed out here. Everybody on that restart trying to get every position they possibly could. Fitzwater going to make a move potentially here on Ryan Butcher, who had a little bit of a lift over to turn 1. Ooh, Fitzwater, though, did not have the greatest of entry there into 4. So he'll lose a little ground to Ryan Butcher. Benjamin Snyder, a couple of the non-charter drivers, the only 2 non-charter drivers I should say, that qualified into this weekend's race. Mixing it up for the 7th position. Benjamin Snyder, of course, the last race that he made was back at Mid-Ohio, where he qualified in 2nd and finished in 2nd. As you may remember, last year he ran full-time over for Lake Effect Autosport. Almost pulled off his first career victory at Sonoma, but got hit with a late race penalty. Had to pit in the closing stages. Still finished top 5 in that one. Trying to take the longer way around there in turn 6. I'm sorry, actually, I was turn 5. Not going to work out to his favor here as Nico continues to run the line he runs, forcing Snyder to do something different. Kyle Matthews continues to lead as the caution flag is out. That'll be our 2nd caution of the day. And it occurs on lap number 9. So Matthews, McIntyre, Breton, Banks, and Deaver will be the top 5 here under this yellow. These yellows are making things interesting because we weren't 100% certain what the fuel window was for these drivers. Based off of yesterday afternoon's lights race, they were able to go about 22 to 24 laps on a tank of fuel, and we're expecting that that fuel number is going to be smaller here today. What would it be in the CTS physics? But these cautions are definitely making things a little bit more interesting. Looks like our winner from a couple of weeks ago at the Chicago Motor Speedway, Jesse Turner, the reason for this caution. Going to have a little contact with Jose Mills. Oh, Mills just running into his right rear, hooking him into the tire wall. Kind of similar to an incident we had yesterday in the lights race. Here's another look at it here. I think Mills thought he was clear, but he obviously wasn't. And Jesse Turner, who comes into this race 3rd in overall points, former winner on the season, as we just documented, his day could very well be over depending on how heavy the impact was into those tire barriers. There are a couple of things you do not want to hit in road courses, and tire barriers are probably top of the list, as we have had a lead change. Cole Deaver just won the battle off of pit road as everybody was on the pit lane. Deaver came off pit road with the top spot. Benjamin Snyder came out second, and Kyle Matthews, Levi McIntyre, who were first and second when they took the caution, are going to be third and fourth for this upcoming restart. Looks like Reese Banks will be in the fifth position. Lights are out, I believe, on the pace car, so they're all going to have to hurry up and catch up here. Pace car is not going to wait on them, and a lot of those drivers that were towards the back, they may not be up here in the lead group when we go back green. I think the pace car is actually on pit road. Road course yellows here as the green flag is back in the air, and Matthews and McIntyre are going to have a big run here. Matthews trying to show the nose on Snyder, not going to be able to do it. Snyder goes a little wide there. Matthews had to check up for him. Now Matthews goes wide. McIntyre tries to cross him over. Yeah, that yellow flag with the road course yellows really messed a bunch of drivers up. They're not caught up here to the front of the field, so you've got little battles here and there stretched out for about half of the racetrack, as I think McIntyre is going to get Matthews here off of 8. And yes, he is. Move McIntyre into the third spot. Cole Deaver, though, becoming the second S3 Motorsports car to be out in front here today. Kyle Matthews led 8 laps. Carson Gum led 2. And now Deaver, the third leader of this race. By the way, update on Charles Sanford. They have taken his car back to the garage where he will join, or I'm sorry, make that Jesse Turner rather. They've taken his car back to the garage where he will join Charles Sanford. 2 retirees at this point. 28 drivers still remaining on the track, and those 29 are on the lead lap. As Kyle Matthews, a little wide there, off of turn 5, or make that turn 6 rather. Trying to get the run up the hill in turn 7 up to 8A. Looks like he lost ground to McIntyre rather than gained it, and now looks like Reese Banks has some thoughts about that 4th position. A couple of drivers coming off of pit lane there. Michael Norman and Caleb Fogler. They're going to come out on the tail end of the lead lap, and I would have to assume those are unscheduled pit stops, although I am seeing, is there some damage on the right side of Norman's car? I'm wondering if there might have been an incident on pit road with how congested it is, and those two might have had to come back down pit lane to get some damage repair. So now they got to hope for a caution to come out. If they can stay ahead of the 3, they would be able to then go all the way around this racetrack and be able to catch up to the tail end of the lead lap. We got a car in the wall. Michael Norman and Caleb Fogler are actually wrecked at the entrance of pit lane. No caution for that, ironically enough. We ended up having an incident yesterday where a driver hit the pit wall and the caution flew, but Fogler and Norman getting together there at the entrance of pit lane, they did not throw the yellow flag, and both cars are now sitting on pit road with quite a bit of damage. You'll see what happened to them via the NNSCRA split cam. Both drivers got into this race today via owner points. Neither one were able to race their way in. Fogler coming into this race 11th in overall points. Michael Norman was the last driver to get into this race, 19th in overall standings. And of course, for Caleb Fogler, comes into this in the second wild card spot as things were currently scored after New Hampshire. So he will undoubtedly not move into the top 10 in the standings here today, as he's already out of the race. They're trying to do some repairs on the Michael Norman machine. I think it was Fogler who caught the brunt of the pit wall with the front end of his car. Norman, they might be able to get him back out there, but a bad day goes worse for him, as he is already now 2 laps down. Battle for third. Matthews, McIntyre, these two cannot get away from each other today. They've been battling tooth and nail, whether it be for the lead, for second, or now for third. Also, a point of note, we went back green on lap 12, so if you're looking to try and keep an eye out of when we could expect to see green flag pit stops, if we kind of use yesterday to gauge off of, we'll be generous and say the 22-lap margin is what these Cup drivers can do today, so we're looking somewhere in the vicinity of lap 32 of when these drivers will have to start maybe thinking about coming to pit road. And yesterday was an anomaly. It kind of went against everything that we know in terms of pit strategy and what we've even seen here during the course of these last few races. You know, you go back to Dover, to Iowa, to Chicago Motor Speedway, even last week to New Hampshire as Benjamin Snyder with a bit of a mess up there, and Levi McIntyre looks to capitalize for second. But it's always been kind of the thought process of you come to pit road sooner than your competition, you put on those fresh tires, and then you go out there, you put down the blistering lap, and it's going to gain you track position. That's happened. That's happened for Qualls to be able to pick up victories in the last couple of weeks. Same for Jesse Turner. But yesterday, it ended up being that the driver that stayed out the longest on a green flag run ended up being the one that eventually gained the track position when everything cycled around. So it will be interesting to see here today if these Cup drivers adopt that same strategy and if it does work out for them. I don't know if the Cup versus CTS physics would negate what we saw yesterday. I'm not certain. I'm looking right now at tire fall off, and some drivers are running about a 1/10.5 slower than their fastest lap. Other drivers are running nearly a full second slower than their fastest lap, and I don't know if that is based off of how much traffic they're dealing with or what the case is in that regard. So it will be interesting to see if indeed we have green flag pit stops, which I'm going to assume we're going to with how long today's race was scheduled for. If that strategy that we saw yesterday, if it holds true here today in the Cup races. Reese Banks, saw him have a nice run there out of 8. Got alongside Kyle Matthews down the front straightaway. Those two will be side by side for the 4th position. Connor Breton putting the pressure on Nick Gunther behind them for 6th. And Reese Banks will complete the pass around Kyle Matthews. So move him up into the 4th spot. Let's follow the battle back here outside the top 5 for 6th. Gunther, Breton, Nico Servideo right there as well, along with Ryan Butcher. Breton showed the nose there off the uphill turn 8. Not going to be able to quite get the run he needs, I don't think, here down the front straightaway. Might show the nose late down here into 1. As Reese Banks is on the move, he's already gotten up to the back bumper of Benjamin Snyder for the 3rd position. Good car on the long run here for Reese Banks. That's another thing we're going to have to keep an eye on, is who has a good long run car here today, because it kind of looked like whoever had the good long run car yesterday in the lights race, they were able to gain a ton of track position as well on green flag pit stops. So this 44 might be one of the drivers to watch. Reese Banks still looking for that first win on the season. His only previous win in Duracell Cup Series last year in his rookie campaign at the Super Speedway of Talladega. Reese has got a great run here. He seems to really be able to get back to the throttle off the final corner and keep that momentum going down the front straightaway. It's the exact same move he put on Kyle Matthews a couple of laps ago. Now let's see how quickly he can make the pass here on Snyder, who runs a little wide off of 2. And Banks, I believe, is clear. Move him up now to the 3rd spot. Reese Banks running some of the fastest laps on the racetrack right now. Michael Norman still sits on the pit lane as they continue to repair his machine, 7 laps down. Cole Deaver, the gap between himself and Levi McIntyre appeals to be dwindling just a little bit. About maybe 7 car lengths back. Well, Cole Deaver trying to get back to his winning ways. Cole Deaver, a former winner at a road course. Remember I mentioned about the fact that Rob Evans picked up a non-charter victory at Indianapolis Road Course. Guess who won the chartered race that same weekend? You're looking at him. Deaver in that time was in the 08 out of S3 Motorsports. Made the number change this year over to the number 3. Was hoping that would bring him maybe a little bit of better luck coming off a bit of a slump season last year. Now, so far, hasn't exactly worked out. 3 top 10s for the 3 car, still searching for his first top 5 in the year, 29th in overall points, but going to gain a chunk of points here today if he can finish it, not even with a victory, but with a decent finish here today, up inside the top 5 or the top 10. A lot of drivers did not qualify for this race that were ahead of him in the point standings, including Cody Lamas and Laura Chung, Jessica Shelton. Charles Sanford is out of this race, so he'd gain points on him. Anthony McCurry, Quentin Moore, Ryan Brommer. So a lot of drivers that he could gain points on here today is they will not be scored any points for this weekend. Good battle brewing here, just inside the top 10. Ryan Butcher trying to hold off Zachary Fitzwater. Dylan Poteet there as well. Ryan Butcher 24th in overall standings. We've been documenting the last few weeks the run that he's been on, trying to make that late playoff push. The only one of the Auto Junction racing cars that made the field here this weekend, as both his teammates Ryan Brommer and Laura Chung failed to qualify into the main show. Fitzwater and Poteet side by side here. This is Poteet looking to make the pass on Fitzwater, slides right across the nose of the Pertec Chevrolet, and Poteet will now move into the 10th position. Fitzwater back to 11th. There's Carson Gum, who we saw lead a few laps earlier, gave up the track position on the first caution to come down pit lane, restarted back around the 12th position, which is where he currently is now. Not sure what the strategy call was for that. I'm almost wondering, back in the early stages of this race, there was some contact between Carson Gum, Kyle Matthews, and Zach Rogers as they were battling for the race lead. And I wonder if maybe they brought Carson to pit road to make sure that the sheet metal around the wheels, around the tires, was clear and they weren't going to have a tire rub. Because he was the only one that came to pit road under that caution period, and he did so from the lead. Second place by McIntyre and Reese Banks. I still think Banks has got the fastest car on the racetrack right now. Last time by, Cole Deaver ran a 52.2, Levi McIntyre 52.1, Reese Banks 51.9. He was one of 2 drivers that ran in the 51-second bracket that previous lap. Will Goss was the other. Will mired back in the 18th position. And of course, we documented at the top of the show that Will Goss did not have a good run last week in New Hampshire, dropped out of the top 10 in points, currently in a wild card spot, looking to gain those points back. Currently, though, outside of the top 15 as things are currently scored. I believe Will made his way into this race in one of the heat races yesterday, if I recall correctly. Well, as we watch this battle here for the second position, remind everybody next week it's the Duracell Cup Series cars on their own in the Bluegrass State at Kentucky. Full day qualifying will be on Saturday afternoon, race at 1 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on Sunday, drawing ever closer to the end of the regular season. Late move there by Reese Banks, determined to get around this Andy Caps Hot Fries Ford Mustang. Ooh, almost contact there as McIntyre got a little loose. Getting the left sides on the rumble strip. Banks can't quite get alongside, tries to force the issue. Has to take the long way around here. Can he stay to the inside, though, into 6? He can. Man, Reese Banks seems like wherever he wants to put his car, it will stick. But having to take those wider exits on the left-handers, he's not able to get back to the throttle sooner. He's taking the longer way around. Right here off of 8 and down the front straightaway seems to be his bread and butter, but he didn't have the momentum that time. And we're nearing that point I was talking about of when these drivers might have to consider making green flag pit stops, and we've already seen a couple of drivers here have some mistakes of hitting that pit wall. We saw it happen yesterday as well in the lights race. So we'll check and see if these drivers are here. Oh, Reese Banks is going to dump Levi McIntyre for second. And I don't know if that's going to bring out a yellow or not. Looks like it will. Oh, man. That's not going to be popular there. Levi McIntyre is not going to be thrilled, as he just got flat out turned. In a battle for the second position, Reese Banks, similar to what we saw have happened earlier between Jesse Turner and Jose Mills. Same deal happens here, but it's up inside of the top 5, and it's right on the eve when these drivers are going to have to make green flag pit stops. So Cole Deaver receives the caution. He'll come around and pick up the pace car up here in 3 and 4. And let's go back and take a look at what happened. We saw it happen live. And a tough break there for Levi McIntyre, who now has a lot of damage on the back end of his machine. There it was. Banks just not quite clear. Levi hits with the right side, slides back first into the tire barriers there. Even more damage for his machine. He does get back onto the racetrack, and I believe he ended up crossing the line in 15th position, but with pit road open, it's going to be an extended stay for sure on pit lane for him. As this is a big break, this caution a big break for drivers that were trying to catch up after that last yellow flag. They'll hopefully be able to all be caught up here when we go back green. Lights will be out on the pace car when he comes off of turn number 2, I believe. As we'll watch this battle off of pit road. By the way, too, you guys would have seen it via the NNSCRA split cam, but Mitchell Collins, who worked his way up into the top 10 in points a couple of weeks ago. Oh, little contact there. Deaver and Rogers on the congested pit road. That's going to be some pretty good damage for Deaver, who I think ended up getting shoved into Levi McIntyre, who was in his pit stall. Benjamin Snyder win the battle off pit road, but Mitchell Collins with an engine header issue about 5 laps ago, and he's back behind the wall now, currently in 26th position. Joining Caleb Vogler, Jesse Turner, and Charles Sanford in the garage area. So Benjamin Snyder won the battle off of pit lane. He'll be the one to lead us back to green. Nick Gunther will be second. Cole Deaver will come out in third, but he is sporting some right side damage for sure. And I don't know if they're going to have to call him back to pit road to get that damage repaired, or if he'll just continue on the way it is. Everybody all trying to catch up quickly here as we're heading up into turn 8, getting ready for the green flag. Looks like about 14th place is caught up. As we're going to have 50 laps to go here on this upcoming restart. A tough break there for Mitchell Collins, who came into this race inside the top 10 in standings, 9th in overall points, and he was 9 points ahead of the cut line. Green flag in the air, and everybody's scrambling. A lot of drivers darting to the right. Nick Gunther looking for the lead. Talked about how Benjamin Snyder was close to a victory last season at Sonoma. Driver that benefited on his penalty, the restart penalty, was Nick Gunther, and Gunther going to take the lead from Snyder here as, close back there, Nico Servideo and Cole Deaver. Deaver almost went off track. This is for the 4th position. Kyle Matthews right now in the 3rd spot. Looked like he was going to try and get around Benjamin Snyder. Not able to get to him yet. Servideo completes the pass around Deaver. Move him to 4th. Now Ryan Butcher looks to move into the top 5. Doesn't look like that damage is hindering Cole Deaver speed-wise, at least for the moment, as he is going to keep Ryan Butcher behind him. Deaver will slot to 5th. Butcher into 6th. Connor Breton right now in 7th. Dylan Potin and Carson Gum were mixing up. Ooh, Nico! Off the track there, sliding in the grass. Great save, and didn't lose any positions as a result of it. That was a close one. That's why Blue Oval Automotive tabbed him for most of the road course races this season. We've seen him attempt to qualify later on this year as well at Watkins Glen, as well as Chatham and Canadian Tire, the remaining road courses on the schedule. Well, Nick Gunther, one top 10 on the season for the four-time winner last year, last year's regular season champion, 39th in points. And we talked about Kyle Matthews just needing something good to happen this weekend. Same can be said for the Mazda out of Fortnite Squad Racing, as he is our, I believe, fifth different leader on the day. Battle for second as Snyder a little wide there. Matthews should have the advantage on him going through 6 and complete this pass, and he will. So move Matthews up into the runner-up spot. Now he'll set his sights on Nick Gunther for the race lead. So far here today, 18 laps led by Cole Deaver. Kyle Matthews has led 8. Nick Gunther just led his 3rd lap of the race. And then 1 lap led apiece for Benjamin Snyder and Reese Banks. 44 of Reese Banks currently being scored 2 laps down. There he is. You can see he's got some front-end damage. One of the faster cars of the day. I believe he just returned to the racetrack. Looks like he might have gotten into it with somebody on pit road during the pit stops there under the most recent caution. That's a tough break there for him. 5th place under contest. Cole Deaver and Ryan Butcher. Still side by side between those two, up from 7 to turn 8. Inside advantage should go to Ryan Butcher here. Deaver not going to let him have it though, going to stay with him. And they'll carry this drag race all the way down to the start-finish line. A right-hander coming up here in turn 1, so Ryan Butcher should have advantage here. Potentially have advantage as well off of 2. Another right-hander is Deaver. Whoa! Deaver nearly just lost it off into the sand trap right there, getting his right sides off course a bit. And Ryan Butcher will capitalize on that and take that position away. Move him into 4th, move Deaver back to 5th. Caution is out. Caution going to fly for the 4th time here today at Suzuka. Seen a lot more yellows here today than we saw yesterday. We ran about 50 some odd laps, 45, 50 laps of the 60-lap event yesterday. Completely green. Had a couple of late race yellows, which made things interesting on restarts. But we've doubled the caution total from yesterday to today, and it looks like the car on pit road that might have been involved, the 3-time winner, James Qualls. Pits will be open. I'll be surprised if we have drivers on pit lane, but maybe some drivers mid-pack rear of the field. Field the fresh tires could be important. Let's go back and take a look at what happened. Oh, looks like a couple of drivers, not only Qualls, but I'm also now noticing Carson Gum making his way through the S's smoking. And we may have had a wreck and then a follow-up wreck here. Here's what happens with Carson. Looks like turn 2 has been the trouble spot all day, and this time it's Destin Bolin hooking Carson Gum. That was a battle for 11th place at the time. And then as Carson is trying to make his way back around to pit road, I think you're going to have Qualls coming into view here in just a moment. Oh no, it was up further. I just saw it on the top of the screen. Will Goss was 3 wide with somebody else and James Qualls. Oh, but then there's where Carson gets hit. Okay, I thought somebody got him, and it was Levi McIntyre, who had the extended stay on pit road previously because of the damage from the last yellow. He just clobbers the back of the 19. But let's see who it is. Is it Dylan Young? That's the other 3 wide car. So watch this. You're going to see the wreck occur on the right side of your screen with Carson Gum and Destin Bolin. And then up here, Will Goss completely messes up the entry to that corner, gets into Qualls, puts them both into the wall, and then watch what happens here. Casey Hoyt, Dylan Young, and Will Goss 3 wide, and that's going to spin the 11 and the 2 around. So an action-filled 34th lap right there. Now let's take another look at the hit there by James Qualls. Big impact into the tire barriers for him. Just wrong place, wrong time. Gets forced off. That's a double whammy. Not only hits the tires, but ends up in the sand trap. So even if that thing was able to fire up, it would have taken him a long time to get out of that sand trap. Granted, we would have probably been under yellow for the Carson Gum incident. But regardless, as we're going back green here, Nico Servideo now the new race leader, as it looks like everybody did come to pit road under that caution period, taking the opportunity under yellow rather than pitting under green. Ryan Butcher restarted in second as Jose Mills is off course back there. Looks like he saved it. He's coming back onto the racetrack. Connor Breeden in the 3rd spot, then Dylan Pochen and Destin Bolin right now the top 5. Matt McIntyre now battling with Chris Dollerton for 6th, so we're starting to see some names up here at the front that we have not seen all day long. Okay, just got the update, so it looks like the drivers that came to pit road, not everybody came to pit road under this caution period, the drivers that did pit were Kyle Matthews, Benjamin Snyder, Nick Gunther, Reggie Fogelman, along with Zach Rogers, Keith Batson, Will Goss, and Zachary Fitzwater. All these drivers up here towards the front did not pit. That's why there are some different faces up inside of the top 5 and the top 10. This battle back here for the 5th position is where it's going on. 3 Fords duking it out. Bolin, McIntyre, and Dollerton, all out of different organizations there as well. You've got Dollerton out of Blue Oval Automotive, McIntyre out of Mike Norman Motorsports, and Destin Bolin out of Young Motorsports. And for now, it is Bolin versus McIntyre, with Dollerton looking on in the 7th spot. Nico Servideo trying to do something that hasn't been done in quite a while. And that is a driver winning a Duracell Next Gen Cup Series race in their first ever start, as we nearly just had another incident there off of turn 2. Dollerton was into the back of Matt McIntyre, but Matt was able to save it. He made a little contact after McIntyre came back onto the track, and these two, they are battling tooth and nail. Right now, what would be the 6th position. Dollerton edged ahead there, but now you got the right-hander. And Matt McIntyre, with that right-hander off of turn 8, is going to take that position back. Let's take a lap around Suzuka East. We listened to what the cars sounded like yesterday in the lights race. Let's see if there's any notable differences here with the next gen cars. Our pole sitter Rob Evans will give us the onboard. Rob Evans currently holding down the 9th position. Look who's right behind him, Casey Hoyt. These two for the last 7-8 weeks have been duking it out for the points lead. Evans 3 points over Hoyt coming into this one. They are nose to tail for position in the 9th and 10th spots. Both of those drivers up to this point, neither have led a lap. Evans started from the pole, but Kyle Matthews was able to lead the first lap of the, actually I think it was Carson Gum actually led the first lap of the day after they were 3 wide on the first lap for the top position. Evans, though, has been able to work his way back up here into the latter half of the top 10. Casey Hoyt looking to make his way around him on driver's left for that spot. Good run so far today for Austin LaPlante out of Northeast Racing. I believe 3 of the 4 Northeast Motorsports Chevrolets made the field here today. Connor Breton made it in on speed. Reggie Fogelman made it in with the victory in the first heat race, and LaPlante had to make his way in via owner points, so he started deep in the field. He's been able to make his way now up into the top 10. Past the halfway point here as well. We have worked a total of 4 caution flags so far here today. There are 23 cars still scored in this race. 21 of them are on the lead lap. Levi McIntyre 1 lap down, Reese Banks 2 laps down. And it looks like we've got a total of 7 drivers that are out of the race, including Carson Gum, James Qualls, Mitchell Collins, Caleb Fogler, Michael Norman still sitting on pit road, but I think it's safe to assume he's done for the day, Jesse Turner, and Charles Sanford, your retirees at this point. Nico Servideo, what a day it would be for him to qualify into the main event at a track where only 30 spots were available. We've seen drivers, non-charter drivers, make it into the field this season before, but it's been in 42 car fields. The only exception was back at Mid-Ohio. But if Servideo is able to overcome all the obstacles here this weekend that were the pitfalls, especially for the non-charter cars, be able to pick up this victory, that would be huge. Put his name on the list of other drivers that have put a Blue Oval Automotive Ford in victory lane. Trey Wright, Jordan Lopez, Jose Mills. Caleb Fogler also you can add to that list here, last year and this year. Still have at least 1 more pit stop that these drivers are going to have to make, though, potentially 2. Again, we haven't yet been able to get a full idea of what the fuel window is, because I think the closest we got was just prior to that second caution flag flying. Ryan Butcher in the 2nd spot. He just ran his fastest lap of the race, did Ryan, 52.034. Last time by, about 0.8 of a second off of Nico Servideo. Cut it down that time to about 6.5 tenths. Ran 2 tenths quicker that lap than Nico did. Right now, of the drivers up inside of the top 10, Ryan Butcher is the fastest car on track. Fall back here again to the 3-way battle for 5th place. Bolin, McIntyre, and Dollarton have accordioned back up together. Dustin Bolin, another driver that had to make his way in to today's event on owner points. Much like LaPlante, started deep in the field as a result and has been able to work his way up into the top 5. Whoa, Dustin Bolin sliding up that corner as he had a bit of a mess up on his entry into 3. And Matt McIntyre looks to capitalize here. Might be able to get him up here in 8. Not quite clear. Can he get back to the throttle sooner? I think he did. He's got him cleared, so Matt McIntyre now moves up into the top 5. And Dustin Bolin, just like that, with the momentum down the front straightaway, will cross him over, coming down into turn 1. Well, it's going to be interesting to see, as Matt McIntyre nearly went off course there. It's going to be interesting to see how all this cycles around for some particular drivers. Cole Deaver, who led a race high to this point, 18 laps, currently mired back in the 16th position. Nick Gunther is back in 19th place. Remember, these are drivers that came to pit lane under that last yellow. I believe the highest running driver that came to pit road would be Kyle Matthews. He is currently up in 11th place. He's got the lap car of Reese Banks between himself and his next competitor, Casey Hoyt, who is holding down the final spot in the top 10. Benjamin Snyder right now in 11th, Reggie Fogelman in 12th. Make that Snyder in 12th and Fogelman in 13th. They also were on pit road under the last caution. So if we end up getting to a round of green flag pit stops, you'd have to assume that the 09, the 50, the 24, they can go a little bit further. Question is how much further. I kind of like the situation they're in, though, as we watch the battle for 9th place again between the first and second in points. But we've yet to see drivers make a green flag pit stop, so we don't know how treacherous it is getting onto pit road and not hitting that pit wall. I'd want to be one of the last ones onto pit lane just in case somebody hits that pit wall for 2 reasons. Number one, then it's not me that's running the risk of ending my day if I do end up making contact with the pit lane wall. But also, 2, you go a little bit further, caution comes out, you gain a ton of track position. Just saw a pit sign down there. That's Jose Mills coming into the attention of his crew. Remember, we saw him get off course a little bit earlier, but I don't think he hit anything. He's coming down to the attention of his pit crew. Looks like it might be a regularly scheduled stop for him. Kind of hard to tell with that camera angle. They'll send him out and away. We'll see if he's able to stay on the lead lap or not. Looks like Mills was 19th at the time he dove onto pit lane. I mean, it might also be a case, too, of these drivers making that final pit stop when the fuel window opens, which could be somewhere in the vicinity of, what, lap 58 to lap 60? So we might end up seeing drivers coming onto pit lane then. Looks like Mills is going to come out intermingled with lead lap cars right alongside of Dustin Bolin in the 12. So that's going to be some traffic that 5th place on back is going to have to contend with. Mills has got fresher tires as well, so not necessarily certain if Bolin will be able to make quick work of the 38, or if the 38 might be able to actually just outright pass him. Look at how this is stacking him up now, too. Bolin's going to complete the pass. Dollerton gets no help from his Blue Oval Automotive teammate. Almost got ran off the track up there off of 7 into 8. Opened up the door for Matt McIntyre to challenge for the 6th position. Not going to be able to complete that pass here this time. Will McIntyre tucks back in line. I mean, Nick Gunther, I'm looking at him way back there as the cars make their way down the front straightaway, and he is way back there. I wonder if he might be saving some fuel. I mean, he's about 3 seconds off the back of his nearest competitor, Zach Rogers. And we know Nick's got a fast race car. Won the second heat race here yesterday, was up towards the front, leading 5 laps here in the first half of this race. So we know he's got a fast machine. Right now he's not showcasing it, which could be all part of the strategy. Well, when Nico hits the line here, he will be tied for most laps led with Cole Deaver. If he completes another lap, he will then be at the top of the board in most laps led at 19 and be in possession of the bonus point for most laps led. We've seen a number of drivers here this season make races as non-charter drivers and have really good performances. Benny Watson has made 2 starts this season as a non-charter driver. He's got a top 5 and an 8th place average finish in those 2 starts. Mike Tellier, obviously, we saw him make the Daytona 500 and bring it home in a top 5 finishing position. Oh, Nico might have just gotten the pit wall. Oh, and Connor Breton definitely did. Pit lane is blocked up. Is there somebody behind him that's trying to come to pit road and can't? And the caution's going to come out. Nico clipped the pit wall. Breton definitely clobbered the pit wall. And that's what I was talking about. The strategy of wanting to be that last car onto pit lane or wait a little bit longer. That is why. And Connor Breton, 2-time winner, trying to get himself up into the top 30 in points for the wildcard conversation again. A lot of damage on his machine, and that's more than likely his day done. I will talk more about drivers and the non-charter drivers and their performances this season in the races they have made. As pit road's going to be a busy place again, and we're going to take a look at what happened with the 88. I'd be a little bit concerned about the 82 as well. He definitely, we heard, made contact with the wall. Not nearly to the scale that Connor Breton did, though. Looks like they haven't spent any extra time on him in his pit stall, though. They sent him right out with a regularly scheduled pit stop. Yeah, Breton just a little wide, and it was Poteet that was trying to pit there and had to come to a stop. And so with green flag pit stops looming and pit lane entrance blockaded, race officials having to throw the caution. It's a tough break for Breton, who was running in the 3rd spot. Was trying to maybe do a little bit of an undercut strategy on the drivers ahead of him. Ugh. It's a blind corner there at turn 8. It's an uphill going up to turn 8, and then it kind of crests at the top. And so you're not exactly certain where that pit road entry road is. And if you make the dive too late, as you saw right there with Breton, that is the end result. Matt McIntyre is going to win the battle off of pit road, it looks like, over Ryan Butcher, Chris Dollerton, and Austin LaPlante. Jose Mills coming off of pit lane there. He was a lap down. He did get lapped by the leaders on that unscheduled green flag pit stop, and I think he's going to have to restart behind the pace car. So that is going to be someone that Matt McIntyre is going to have to deal with here once we go back green. Looks like Dylan Poteet is going to be the completion of the top 5 here for the upcoming restart, which is going to be on lap 57, so a total of 34 laps to go. 24 laps to go. This might be right on the window of them being able to make it the rest of the way. And, ooh, Matt McIntyre saw the run that Ryan Butcher and Chris Dollerton were getting on him there on the front straightaway, moves to the right side to not only try and make the move on Jose Mills, but also get by those guys. Mills might go off course there as he was very, very wide through 1 and 2, but McIntyre will clear for the spot. Dollerton now trying to get by his Blue Oval Automotive teammate so he can get up there and battle with Matt McIntyre for the race lead. Mills battling hard here, as I believe Mills would have been on the tail end of the lead lap had he stayed ahead of the 21. Now he's a lap down. And Dollerton's going to complete the pass here, I believe, off of turn 8. Connor Breton back behind the wall. His day will finish, it looks like, in the 23rd position. He's still yet to be passed by Levi McIntyre and Reese Banks, a couple of our lap down machines. So can they make it? Can they make it on fuel? Didn't exactly pay attention to when Breton made the dive onto pit road of how long it had been since drivers had been to pit road. Bear in mind, too, the window would have been a little bit different for a lot of those drivers up there at the front because a number of them didn't pit under the 4th caution flag. Now with everybody coming to pit road here, they should all be able to go the maximum window. Well, that caution helped a couple of drivers out. In particular, Benjamin Snyder and Cole Deaver. Snyder is now up into the 9th position, and Deaver is up into 13th. Caution's out again. Let's scan pit road, see if we can find out who was this caution. Oh, looks like Nico Servideo and Reggie Fogelman. Servideo, who tied with Cole Deaver for most laps led so far today. Reggie Fogelman, a winner of one of our heat races yesterday. And another caution that saves Levi McIntyre from going another lap down. They were closing in on the 99. Well, this might actually help drivers in terms of being able to make it the rest of the way. Now they can use this lap or two of caution to save some fuel to be able to reach the conclusion. I would be surprised outside of crash damage if anybody makes a dive onto pit lane for the remainder of this race, since we were like right on the fuel window. And here's a look at what happened. Reggie Fogelman can get out of shape all by himself here over in 3 and 4. And then as Fitzwater's going to the inside of Servideo, Fogelman tries to merge back onto the track, and contact made with all three. Servideo and Fogelman get the worst of it. Definite damage on the right side of the 66. There's another look at it here. Fogelman, who dominated the heat race yesterday, got a lot of reps of how to attack this racetrack. Just a mistake right there, and you see merging right into the entrance of a corner, and heavy impact for himself as well as Nico Servideo. And now Fitzwater's got some damage as well. Tough break there for Nico Servideo. That is more than likely his day done, and indeed it is. Same for Reggie Fogelman. Servideo was looking to join a list of drivers who had great starts or great finishes in the starts they had made this year as non-charter drivers. I was going down the list. Benjamin Snyder finished second in his start this year. Ralph Mason finished 6th. Roberto Crown Jr. finished 8th. Jack Mitchell finished 11th after starting from the pole back at Darlington, and Jordan Lopez finished 10th. All of those drivers in their only starts on the year as non-charter part-time competitors. Nico Servideo was looking to join them here today after he was out in front for 18 laps, but he will end the day behind the wall. Looks like he will finish in 21st, and Fogelman will finish in 22nd. Fogelman has been trying for the last few weeks to get up in the top 10 in the point standings. Today could have been potentially his best chance with the limited number of drivers we had in the starting lineup, as Matt McIntyre feels the pressure of the inaugural Duracell Cup Series champion Chris Dollerton. And Dollerton's going to clear for the race lead. Jose Mills, lap car now, maybe trying to play some defense for his teammate. Keep second place on back at bay. Matt McIntyre not going to allow that to happen. Looks to swing around the outside of the 38. Austin LaPlante right there in the 48 car. The Quaker State Chevrolet, highest running of the bow ties, and then the highest running Toyota Camry, Ryan Butcher, right alongside of him as they're in a tussle for third place. First lap led of the day for Chris Dollerton. Dollerton 17th in overall points coming into this race. He's able to pick up the victory here today. He would certainly be in the wild card conversation as we were 3 wide through the very tight 1 and 2. Austin LaPlante, Jose Mills, and Matt McIntyre, only 2 drivers there battling for the second spot, and they're going to make contact. Mills up into the tire barrier with Matt McIntyre. Caution is going to wave, and that's another wreck at the very front of the field, this time involving the 21 of Matt McIntyre. And another caution period to help these drivers save fuel to get to the end. But another driver who was looking like he was going to have a promising run here today, and it goes south just like that. After 3 wide from turn 1 all the way over to turn 4. Matt McIntyre, Jose Mills, couple of Fords into the tire barriers. Another Ford, Chris Dollerton, picks up the pace car over in the S's. We saw it happen live. Let's dissect it once again here on the replay. Let's go all the way back to turn 1. Watch this. Move by Austin LaPlante. Matt McIntyre probably didn't realize they were 3. Little contact right there between him and Mills. And they still, nobody was willing to give an inch. They then down here into the left-hander of turn 3, stay 3 wide, over into 4. LaPlante just completely overdrives the corner there. Slides into Jose Mills, and Matt McIntyre, the innocent bystander there, nothing he could do. As both the 38 and the 21 get projected into the tire barrier. And it brings out yet another yellow flag. This is going to be our 7th caution of the day. We are thinning out what was already a very small field. Matt McIntyre and Jose Mills have not officially retired from the race, but it's very likely that they will, and when they do so, that's going to be 12 drivers back in the garage area. We've run 64 laps, only 14 of them have been under caution. We've had some good green flag racing here today, but unfortunately, we've had a lot of our wrecks take place up inside of the top 5, where drivers were looking to have good performances. I mean, a lot of our heavy hitters have been collected up in incidents here. Carson Gum, who was out in front at the very early portion of the race, currently back in the garage here. Nico Servideo, who was looking strong to maybe pick up his first career win, his first career start. He's out of the race. Matt McIntyre, who I just mentioned, was up there battling with LaPlante in that 3-wide battle for second at the time. Now he's back behind the wall. As Chris Dollerton will lead us back to green. Going to be 16 laps to go here at Suzuka. So this race has not necessarily been a wreck fest. It's been intermingled of torn up race cars and good green flag racing as LaPlante on it here on the restart. Ooh, Dollerton slipped up there, got the curbing, and LaPlante is going to clear for the top spot. Destin Bolin back there off course. He'll get it back onto the racing surface. Wow, a lot of sliding right there off of turn 4. Casey Hoyt barely clearing himself on the nose of Ryan Butcher. 3 wide further back. Zach Rogers in the middle. He's in a Young Motorsports sandwich. Dylan Young got into his quarter panel, slides back up the track into Benjamin Snyder. Did they all save it? They did. Now Snyder getting forced out of the groove, going to lose a ton of spots there as Zachary Fitzwater and Kyle Matthews get around him. These drivers realizing laps are ticking down. Every position is a point. They've made the show where a lot of other drivers were not able to. Now they're looking to capitalize on that opportunity. Casey Hoyt now up into the 3rd spot. Right now Rob Evans in the 5th position, bookending the 78 of Ryan Butcher. Still neither driver has led a lap today, so right now the gap between those two would be 1 point. Advantage Rob Evans heading into Kentucky next week if they finish where they're currently scored. LaPlante was able to get the race lead on that restart from Chris Dollerton, but he has not been able to pull away. Dollerton is still there within striking distance. We'll see about lap time comparison this time by 51.944 for LaPlante. That's a good lap for him. 52.076 for Chris Dollerton. So slight advantage to the 48 of Austin LaPlante, who is now out in clean air. Austin LaPlante is one of 4 drivers inside of the top 10 in overall standings coming to this one that is yet to go to victory lane. Rob Evans, Destin Bolin, and Mitchell Collins were the other 3. LaPlante's been very consistent this year with 5 top 5s and 9 top 10s in the first 19 races, but he's still trying to find victory lane. He has seen his rookie teammate Connor Breton go to victory lane twice this year, though Breton is struggling to stay relevant in the playoff conversation since he's down hovering around the 30th in the standings cut line. LaPlante's got the best shot of being a contender in the playoffs for the organization. Right now in a position to do it via points, but he wants more bonus points by getting those 5 playoff points with a victory here today. He has now opened up the gap back to Chris Dollerton. Granted, Dollerton just ran his fastest lap of the race, but he ended up losing about another 10th to LaPlante, who continues to put down 51 second lap times. It was a 51.944 the previous lap, and this most recent lap, a 9.13. So LaPlante putting down some really good numbers here. With still 12 to go next time by. This race is not over yet. Well, I know he's not necessarily going to get the performance he was looking for here today, but give a shout out to Keith Batson. He's at the very tail end of the field right now. Last car in lead lap in the 16th position. Remember, we saw him make that contact in the early going. I believe it was with James Walls. No, it was with Charles Sanford in the first yellow flag of the day. He's been dealing with that damage all race, but he's been able to survive, pick up spots. I mean, he more than likely could have retired from the race at that point and finished in 29th or 30th, but no, he is running up in the 16th position right now, so great job for him sticking with it. It's actually not that far off of Benjamin Snyder. He might have something to maybe say about moving up a little bit higher in the running order, but we'll have to wait and see. Well, right now, Cole Deaver and Nico Servideo will end up sharing the bonus point for most laps led. Servideo out of the race after he led 18 laps. Deaver right now running in 7th after he led 18 laps in the early going. Right now he's got his hands full with Destin Bolin as gets off course there, and Bolin will take advantage. Moves into P7 and Deaver will fall back to 8th. Another driver that has done a good job of sticking with it here today is Zach Rogers. Had great qualifying track position here today. Was in that 3-wide battle for second on the first lap, got spun out, lost all the track position that he had, and he's been able to fight his way back up now into the 10th position currently. Great job for that driver out of Evans Motorsports. And how about Dylan Young? We haven't talked about him really all day, and that's because he's been way at the back of the pack pretty much for the entirety of this thing, but right now running in the 11th spot. Came into this race in the 10th position in points. And drivers behind him in the standings and in front of him in the point standings have struggled here in this one. Fogler is out of the race. Collins is out of the race. Reese Banks currently a lap down. And just when I sing his praises, he's going to get into it. Friend Kyle Matthews, and Matthews is going to turn Dylan Young into the wall. The caution is out. I think I just did the commentator's curse. We had some We the Coasters friendly fire right there. And that's the last thing LaPlante wanted to see, because that means there's another restart upcoming. Man, Dylan Young and Kyle Matthews, they were battling for 11th place, and now Dylan Young, another driver that was looking to have a promising run today, into the tire barriers off of turn 4. 2 plates has been the trouble spots here today, turn 2 and turn 4. And turn 4 claims another victim. Now, we saw it live. Seems like we today have the camera in unfortunate positions for the drivers. That's about the 3rd or 4th incident that we've caught live, so we don't have to really look at too much on the replay. Yeah, Dylan just messes up the entry to that corner. And like we've seen all day, when a driver messes up that entry, they then swing very wide on the right-hander for turn 4. Nothing Matthews could do. Dylan Young just ran him out of room, and Dylan gets hooked. Unfortunately, he didn't get hooked a little bit later. Otherwise, he might have actually spun just through the grass and not hit the tire barrier, but noses it into the wall, and that is more than likely the day done for the driver of the 2. It'll be interesting to see where he is situated, though, as far as the top 10 in the point standings, because as I said, Collins, who was ahead of him, out of the race. Fogler, who was behind him in points, out of the race. Reese Banks was 2 laps down, but when Dylan Young retires out of the event, Banks will pick up the position on him. Those two were separated by 6 points. I don't know if Dylan Young, even despite the DNF, which will probably have him finishing in 18th, if he'll stay in the top 10 in points or not, or if he'll drop back down into a wild card spot, which is where he's been for about the last 4 or 5 weeks. Just last week after New Hampshire did he move up into the top 10 in the points for the first time, and well, before the All-Star race break, I'm pretty sure it was. Well, this will more than likely be our final restart of the day, I think. I mean, with the road course yellows, there is the potentiality we could end up having another restart if we have an immediate yellow on the upcoming lap, but we will have to wait and see. Austin LaPlante looking for that first win on the season, as is 4 of the top 5. Chris Dollerton in 2nd. Rob Evans in 4th, Ryan Butcher in 5th. The only driver in the top 5 that's previously won is the 2-time winner, Casey Hoyt, who will restart in 3rd place. Green flag in the air, and Chris Dollerton says, hey, I remember what you did to me on that previous restart. I'm looking to do the same thing. Immediately jumps to the right side of Austin LaPlante. Can he stay alongside him down here into turn 1? Oh, LaPlante very wide off that corner, almost got off course. Dollerton will take the spot easily as they're 3 wide for 2nd, and this spells bad news. Oh, they got to settle this out. Turn 4 is not going to be kind. Contact made. Beating and banging. Oh, they're off the course further back there. That was Snyder and Will Goss. I don't know if they held on to it or not. Caution's out, so I'm assuming the answer is no. Still 3 wide here, guys. You got to give some room. 3 wide up here at turn 8. And they're all going to make it work. Caution is out, though, as Dollerton will lead them back to the yellow. Drag race between Hoyt and Evans, which I believe is going to be won by Hoyt. Evans will cross in 3rd, then LaPlante and Poti now the top 5, and it looks like Will Goss may have been the one that got the tire barrier on that exchange. He and Snyder I saw in the back portion of the screen getting off course there in turn 5. That's going to be the 2nd straight Young Motorsports car that's going to be bringing out this yellow flag here. Dylan Young, the last one, and Will Goss this one. Let's take a look at what happened here with Will. But it was all going on up ahead of them. And this is what happened behind. Benjamin Snyder just sliding in that corner, gets Will Goss in the right rear, and both of them pretty heavy impact there. Will into the tires and Benjamin Snyder into the back of the 11. Well, Snyder, who had a 2nd place performance in his first start in the season back at Mid-Ohio, does not look like he'll follow it up with another top 5 here today. Let's take another quick look at this incident. I believe that this all really culminated all the way back off of turn 2. Watch here. As Rob Evans, I think it's going to make some contact with Zach Rogers. Oh, maybe not. I thought he did. And just swings it wide, clips the 11, and both of them into the tire barriers. So caution waves. This is the 9th caution of the day. And this time, I think potentially, if the caution flies again, race will more than likely end under yellow. We're going to go back green with 4 laps to go. Will Goss, Benjamin Snyder, both of them officially out of the race. Snyder was able to drive back to pit road, but he made the right-hand turn into the infield. Levi McIntyre and Reese Banks, the day did not work out the way that they planned. Banks with the unscheduled pit stop after damage sustained on pit road. Levi McIntyre getting spun over in turn 2, over into the entrance of turn 3. But right now, they're in line to finish in the top 15. Levi McIntyre just moved up to 14th, and Reese Banks will move up to 15th when he crosses the line this time. Green flag in the air, and 2nd place seems to be on these restarts. This time, it's Casey Hoyt looking for the race lead here on Chris Dollerton. Dollerton a little wide there, but he keeps his foot in it, stays alongside of the 74 here off of turn 2. Who gets the advantage here through 3, 4, and 5. Hoyt looks to clear. Dollerton says not so fast. Drives it back to the left rear quarter panel. Might have to give way here, though, into turn 6, and he will have to. Casey Hoyt will go to the race lead. Dollerton looked to cross him back over, couldn't do it. Casey Hoyt looking to join James Qualls as a 3-time winner on the season, but Dollerton looking to get that run down the front straightaway here into turn 1. He is visibly closing. Does he step out here going into the entrance of the corner? Is he close enough? Not quite yet. Rob Evans in the 3rd spot. Dylan Poti got by Austin LaPlante to move into 4th. LaPlante shuffled back to 5th. Casey Hoyt so far this season went to victory lane at Manassas in his second career start, followed it up with a victory not that much later, M&M's Super Speedway. I'm sorry, correction, the other Super Speedway, Coke Zero Super Speedway. Has been in a dogfight with Rob Evans for the overall points lead, which right now I believe would have the two of them in a tie, with Hoyt leading a lap and being 2 positions ahead of the 65. But the race isn't over yet, still 2 to go, and Dollarton continuing to hound the U-Haul Ford Mustang. James Qualls came into this race the only 3-time winner on the season. Little did we know we could potentially have 2 3-time winners heading into Kentucky next week, but Dollarton with a nice run there. Try to at least stay in touch with the 74. I believe he's got to maybe wait here onto the front straightaway to maybe try and make the pass. Can he stay with Hoyt here through turn 8 and get back to the throttle and keep the momentum here on the front stretch? White flag will be in the air this time. Dollarton is there. Dollarton is absolutely there, and he's going to get a big run down the front stretch. White flag in the air, 1 lap to go. Can Dollarton make the move? Oh, it's not going to show the nose. It wasn't quite close enough. Casey Hoyt going to just have to run his line, force Dollarton to do something different. LaPlante trying to get a last-minute 4th place off of Dylan Poteet there. Oh, the two are going to make some contact. They're both going to slide wide, but they keep it going. Dollarton looking to continue to put the pressure on Hoyt, but he lost a little ground there through 5. I don't know if he's got enough here. He's going to have a heck of a turn 8. Casey Hoyt, what a rookie campaign it has been for him. Dollarton's not going to be close enough. Casey Hoyt's going to come down, and he is going to pick up his 3rd career victory on the season, as he will take the checkered flag here at Suzuka East. He now has a speedway, a super speedway, and a road course victory under his belt in only 20 career starts. He will join James Qualls as a 3-time winner on the season. What a coup Lake Effect Autosport had when they picked up this free agent to start off Season 7. Casey Hoyt, who leads the rookie point standings, as mentioned, has been in the conversation all season long for the overall points lead, is going to pick up his 3rd career victory. The 74 has gone to victory lane in the past. Bradley Ream picked up a victory back in Season 5 for this organization in that ride, but it has never had a multi-win season. It has never had has dominated a season statistic-wise as it has here in Season 7. What a job there for Casey Hoyt, who, correct me if I'm wrong, I believe made his way into this event on owner points, so he had to make his way up to the front from pretty deep in the field. Where exactly did he start this race? 25th, and he managed to make his way up to finish in the win, with the win in the lead. Wow. Unbelievable. Some of these other high finishers here too. Chris Dollarton started back in 17th. LaPlante started back in 27th. So there were a lot of drivers that really had to work their way up through the field here today, whether it be on pit strategy or just surviving today's races. We had a total of, I believe, 15 cars that did not finish out today's event. Casey Hoyt with the victory, though. He will take the points lead. I know that I mentioned about the fact that where they were running, Rob Evans would have been tied with Casey Hoyt, but bear in mind, Casey Hoyt gets 5 bonus points for winning today's race as well, so it should be Casey Hoyt over Rob Evans by those 5 bonus points heading into next week as far as the points lead concerned. Chris Dollarton making a nice little late push towards the playoffs here. He might have thoughts about getting up into the top 10 in overall standings. Remember, he was 17th in points coming into this one. He was 16 points outside of the top 10 in the standings and leading 7 laps and finishing runner-up. good step in the right direction. Rob Evans, another good consistent day after starting from the pole, completes the podium. Austin LaPlante, the consistency continues for him as he gets 4th. Dylan Poteet will finish the day out in 5th. Destin Bolin in 6th. That was another driver that had to make his way in on owner points today. Ryan Butcher gets 7th. Zach Rogers, great comeback for him as he'll get 8th. Kyle Matheson and Cole Deaver, a couple of S3 Motorsports Chevrolets, will complete the top 10. Nick Gunther brings it home in 11th. Zachary Fitzwater, who won the last road course race in Mid-Ohio, finishes 12th. And Keith Batson was the last driver to finish on the lead lap as he brings it home in 13th. The last remaining survivors, Levi McIntyre 1 lap down, Reese Banks 2 laps down in 15th. And here you see the drivers that did not reach the conclusion. All drivers that DNF'd were due to crash damage with the exception of Mitchell Collins. He retired due to a mechanical problem. It will be interesting to see. A lot of these drivers are running up well in the point standings. With the drivers that finished well and the drivers that didn't finish well here today, how much does that shift? Who's in the top 10 in overall standings, who is not, and of course, who is in a wild card position, who is not. I believe that Connor Breton, I don't know if 23rd plays here today with the drivers around him DNQing, if he'll move into the top 30 in points or not. We'll have to wait and see. We know that Jessica Shelton and Kyler Sustre will more than likely fall out of the top 30 in points, so it's going to make things very interesting as far as what the playoff grid looks like heading into next week. I mean, right now, I wouldn't be surprised if we have 2 or 3 drivers that are currently in wildcard positions via points when we go into Kentucky next week, but we'll have to wait and see if that is the case. What a great race, what a great weekend here from Suzuka. Hope you guys enjoyed it as much as I did. If you did, be sure to give this video a like, subscribe part of the crew today. We showed you full feature results, and you're now looking at your point standings as a result of today's finishes. Next week, it's just the Cup drivers. We'll see the Lights drivers in about 3 weeks' time, but it's the Cup drivers next week at the Bluegrass State, the Mile and a Half Kentucky Speedway. We'll have pole day qualifying on Saturday, Sunday afternoon, 1 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. We will have the 21st race of the season here for the Duracell Next Gen Cup Series. 6 races remain for drivers to make their way into the playoffs. Hope you guys enjoyed this weekend, and I will see you guys next time as you've been watching another broadcast courtesy of NNSCRA TV, offline racing at its best.